Welcome back, dear children. I am Shalini Jacob. Today, we are going to study the remaining part of lesson number 1, Tracing Changes Through 1,000 Years in History, Standard 7th. In the previous part, we have studied that the term Hindustan was first used by Minhaj Siraj, a Persian chronicler in the 13th century. Amir Khusro used the term Hind in the 14th century. Historians use different sources to study the past depending upon the period of their investigation. Coins, inscriptions, architecture, and textual records are still the basic sources. Manuscripts collected from wealthy people, rulers, monasteries, and temples were placed in libraries and archives. Today we are going to start with new social and political group. The period between 700 and 1750 was a phase of transition, means the time of change, as a lot of developments took place. The Persian wheel in irrigation, the spinning wheel in weaving, and firearms in combat were some of the examples of developments. The subcontinent saw the new food like potatoes, corn, chilies, and beverages like tea and coffee. The new technologies and crops came along with the migrants who also brought other ideas with them. It was a period of economic, political, social, and cultural changes and also of great mobility. People travelled to far-off lands to make their fortune. One group of people who became important in this period were the Rajputs, a name derived from Rajputra, that means the son of a ruler. Rajputs, that is Rajputras, one of the prominent communities were the group of warriors between the 8th and 14th centuries. They were the Kshatriyas by caste status. They included the rulers, chieftains, soldiers, and commanders serving in the armies of the different monarchs all over the subcontinent. Extreme valor or bravery and a sense of loyalty were the prominent qualities of this community. Marathas, Sikh, Jats, Ahoms, and Kayasthas. Kayasthas is a caste of scribes and secretaries. Were the other prominent classes of people. This period witnessed a gradual clearing of forests and extension of agriculture. It caused changes in people's habitat, which forced many of the forest dwellers to migrate. Habitat here means the environment of a region and the social and economic lifestyle of its residents. Some others adopted tilling the land and became peasants, and soon became part of a large complex societies. They were also put under tax cover as per their status, which gave rise to many jatis, that is, subcastes. The divisions of subcastes were made on the basis of their backgrounds and occupations. Ranks were variable as per the change in power, influence, and resources controlled by the members of the jati. This status of the same jati varied from area to area. Jatis had their own system of ruling. They framed rules and regulations in order to manage their own people. An assembly of elders called Jati Panchayat was responsible for enforcing the regulations. Jatis were bound to follow the rules of their villages. Villages constituted only one small unit of a state and were governed by a chieftain. The subcontinent was divided into several regions which were ruled by the empires of different dynasties, for example Cholas, Tughlaqs, Mughals, etc. By 700, several regions developed their distinct geographical dimensions and their own cultural characteristics. During the period of 700 and 1750, the 1,000 years of history that we are exploring here, there were significant developments in religious traditions. The changes were seen in the people's beliefs. Hinduism saw many changes, which included the worship of new deities, the construction of temples by royalty, and growing dominance of Brahmanas and the priests. For their knowledge of Sanskrit texts, Brahmanas earned great respect in society. The new rulers were their patrons. The most significant development of the period was the rise of the idea of bhakti, which also paved the rise of many new religions in the subcontinent. The teachings of the Holy Quran was brought to India in the 7th century by the migrants. Muslims regard the Quran as their holy book and accept the sovereignty of the God, Allah, whose love, mercy, and bounty embrace all those who believe in Him, without regard to social background. Many rulers were patrons of Islam and the ulama, means learned theologians and jurists. Theologian is an expert in the study of the nature of God and religious belief. Like Hinduism, Islam was interpreted in a variety of ways by its followers. It was divided into two subsects, Shias and Sunnis. There were the Shia Muslims who believed that the Prophet Muhammad's son-in-law, Ali, was the legitimate leader of the Muslim community, while Sunni Muslims who accepted the authority of the early leaders known as Khalifas of the community and the succeeding Khalifas. For historians, time reflects changes in social and economic organization, in the persistence and transformation of ideas and beliefs. Hence, for the historians, it became convenient to study time by dividing it into segments or periods that possess shared characteristics. In the middle of the 19th century, the history of India was divided into three periods: Hindu, Muslim, and British. It was done so because there was no significant historical development other than religion. This periodization is followed by some of the historians even today. Now we will see some important dates to be remembered. In the 7th century AD, the teachings of the Holy Quran was brought to India. In 1154, map of the Indian subcontinent was made by Al-Adrisi. The reign of Delhi Sultan Ghiyasuddin Balban was from 1266 to 1287, and in the year 1356, Ziauddin Barani wrote his first chronicle. He wrote another version 2 years later. In this chapter, we have studied that cartographer is an artist who is skilled in drawing or making maps. Chronicler is the one who writes history or pen down the events of time from the history point of view. Archive is a collection of historical documents or records of government, a family, a place, or an organization. The place where these records are stored. Manuscripts, the original script written by the author in his own handwriting. Habitat means the living condition of species. Jati is the subcaste which was defined or identified on the basis of one's profession, status, and influence. Region is the particular area designated or occupied by a certain group of empire. And periodization means division of time into different segments for the purpose of study from the history point of view. It was done on the basis of dominant factors of the time. In the middle of the 19th century, British historians divided the history of India into three periods: Hindu, Muslim, and British. Children, we have come to the end of this chapter. Your homework is to read the chapter once and underline all the important dates, names, and events. Thank you and have a good day.